Rev up your engines! It's the fancy brand of Nissan. They don't even call them Infinitis in Japan. It's not a name they even use. And they attempted to follow Lexus, where the early ones were V8s, and then they went to V6s. Sales weren't doing good, especially against Lexus and Acura. They were eating their lunch. Then they started to put four-cylinder engines in them, and people liked them even less because, let's face it, it's supposed to be a luxury car. Now, this is a 2014, and it actually is a pretty luxurious car. The problem is the money that you pay for them versus their low resale value. So the owner of this car, he bought it used. Now, he paid about 1/3 of what the original price of the car was, and that's typical. He bought it a couple of years ago. It's a 2014, so he bought it in 2018. And he's basically getting his money's worth. He put rear struts on it, some minor stuff, belts and things. He hasn't thrown a ton of money into it. And as you can see, the smart ones gave up with the four-cylinder engines. They went back to the V6s. This is a very dependable, powerful engine. And as you can see here, you don't have to worry about rubber timing belts. Now, the main reason my customers got rid of Infinitis was because you gotta change the timing belt right after you buy it, unless they have absolute proof that a new one has been put on reasonably soon before you bought it, because if not, and it breaks, goodbye car. But these you don't have to worry about it because they got chains. Now when we look inside, good leather chairs, of course the sunroof and everything on them. All kinds of different drive modes you can put it in. You can turn the map voice on or off. You can play with the camera daytime, nighttime, heated seats, just about everything you'd want in a modern luxury car. Plenty of room. They got full heating, air conditioning in the back, not some tiny little louver. These are comfortable luxury cars. Check out the original wheels. They're still in pretty good shape with Michelin tires on them. But I'm not a fan of these low profile tires. I've seen them lower than this, but still, you gotta stay away from potholes. Now that here on the East Coast, they seem to grow a lot more potholes here than they do in Tennessee. I'm guessing it's the winter, you know, they fill with water. The water freezes, it cracks them open more, right? Doesn't freeze that much in Tennessee or Texas, so we didn't have as bad potholes. You gotta think about that where you're driving with these things, because those tires are expensive, the rims are expensive. I'm not a big fan of them myself, but that's what these things come with. And of course, one of the big attributes of these are their ride. They do ride well. Really are smooth riding cars. The main problem is they were competing against Lexus and Acura, who also make smooth riding cars and have a much better track record in terms of how long they last without any major repairs. Now, this thing has 117,000 miles on it, and it hasn't had any major repairs and seems to run perfectly fine. But let's get the computer out. So let's plug in a scan tool. As you can see here, it's lit. It's a nice scan tool, because then you can see where you're plugging it in. And away we go. You can't hide from this information. Doesn't matter what somebody's done, all the information's stored on the computer. And so far, everything's green, so that's good. OEM enhanced data and scan away. 2014 V6 24 valve, yes. There's no OEM enhanced, that's good too. Scan all modules. You can see all the different things that it's scanning. It'd take days to do this manually, but that's the advantage of computers. You see, these are very complex cars. Adaptive lighting, navigation system, telematics. This goes through them all. The vehicle sound for pedestrians, adaptive cruise control. You get a used one, it gets older. There's a lot of stuff you'll probably live with when it breaks, rather than spend a fortune fixing it. But we're looking for a solid car here. Mainly what we're looking for. Does it have anything foresee a future problem or one that it has now? Now the scan's done, so 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. All right, let's see what the one is. Navigation system. Right front speaker short circuits. Okay, well, who cares about that? Like I say, you're gonna find weird things wrong with these things. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And here in the sonar system, there's 4. The corner sensor, center sensor, rear sensor, right rear sensor. Now that doesn't surprise me at all, because these things get in minor accidents. Guess what? Your bumpers are made out of plastic. You hit stuff, gonna break the sonar sensors. Most people will live without it. Because you fix it and then somebody bumps into your car, they can break it, and then you got to spend a bunch of money in it. I am not a fan of these navigation systems anyways. I find them rather annoying. You're driving on a road and it starts beeping and stuff at you. And a lot of my elderly customers, they push the buttons to turn them off. I show them where the button to turn them off is because they can't stand it. They're driving down the road and they're old, so they're a little bit less coordinated and they might go over a line a little, and it's always beeping at them and freaking them out. So it's not that big of a deal. So let's go to live data. You get a lot of information from live data, and we'll start it up. Starts right up, and here we go. 47 things to mess around with. Short-term fuel, it's adding a little fuel on bank 1 and bank 2, but it's adding about the same amount of fuel. So that tells me it's something that operates both sides. Odds are the MAF sensor needs cleaning. Could be that simple. Anything that affects both the same way, both sides are adding about the same amount of fuel, gotta be something that affects them both. And a dirty mass airflow sensor will do the same thing. Even a clogged air filter can do that. Long-term fuel term on both banks, it's subtracting a little fuel. Minus 1.6, minus 2.3, which isn't that bad. Oddly enough, it's running slightly more lean in the short term, but in the long term, it's actually running a little rich and subtracting fuel. You're never going to get perfection as one of these things that has 117,000 miles on it. It runs perfectly fine. You put it in gear. Does it shake? No, it's smooth as can be. You see the timing advance, it's stable, meaning the timing chain isn't worn. That's still in good shape. You go to the fuel trim percentage, 99.2%. 100% is perfect. So really, that's pretty good for a car that's this old with 117,000 miles on it. Now this car, interesting enough, has 2 mass airflow sensors. They're relatively close. Sensor B is a little bit off, right? That's why I say you should clean them, because that could be causing all the problems, just dirty mass airflow sensor. And since it's got 2 of them, it's half of what it should be. Normally you'd be like 3.6, and this is 1.8, but that's because there's 2 of them, so you got to divide it in half. So all in all, pretty good data. And from my experience with these things, it has just a few of those middling things, the speakers, the sensors, the sonar sensors, and the bumper. Normally I get a lot more codes than that on one of these things, but either way, it's nothing really to worry about as long as the engine's solid and the transmission's solid. So let's take it for a spin. These are smooth running, quiet cars. Even as old as it is, it still rides smooth. They have excellent handling capability and a nice powerful engine. Hey, the automatic door locks still work. That was that click you heard, was the doors locking. Now we'll take it on our little test strip here. It's riding decent. Rides a lot better than the Model Y Tesla did, that's for sure. And it is an older car. I mean, the thing's 8 years old, 117,000 miles on it. This is a horrendous road here. You could probably change out he changed out the back struts. You could change out the front ones or ride a little bit better. But it's still absorbing the bumps. These are excellent cruising vehicles. And like I said, if you want to mess around, you can play with the paddle shifters all you want. See what this old Infiniti can still do. We'll come to a stop and we'll floor it. Still shifts like a dream. The all-wheel drive system works perfectly fine. The engine isn't strained at all and is just waiting to race along. And that's not even in sport mode where you're doing your own shifting, which you can make it go even faster if you want. But realize this wasn't made as a race car. This is made as a luxury type sports car. It's not a race car, but it's certainly got a lot of speed and handling to it. And as you can see when I step on it, if you just go normal, you can't even feel the shifts in this thing. It's that smooth. Now this thing is still sitting here running. It's still silky smooth. And I do have to say, he's a lucky man. He's got this really nice car. But he was extremely lucky because he didn't listen to my advice. He bought this car 2 years ago without having a mechanic check it out. He should have gone to Las Vegas too after that and put all his money on black or white on a roulette wheel and double his money at that. He took a big chance buying it without a mechanic checking it out. But whoever owned it before took good care of it. 2 years, he's put struts in the back. Normal stuff, spark plugs, fan belts. Nothing outrageous. Don't attempt to be as lucky as him. Do have a guy like me check it out before they buy. Now, this is 2 years later, right? Even today I would have said go ahead and buy it. And it was 2 years ago when he bought it. But don't push your luck. Always get one of these things checked out. before you buy it. And like he did, buy a used one. Don't throw your money away on a new one. They're extremely overpriced. The resale values go down. I mean, look, what he paid for it versus new, and it still's got a ton of life left in it, right? That's just how they are. The resale values plummet. So take advantage of that if you want to get one of these. Mechanic says it's good. Go ahead and buy it. You save a ton of money that way, and you got a lot less to lose. Plus, if you think about it, you got a lot less money to lose out of your pocket too, because the insurance rates are a lot cheaper. Think used luxury car like he did. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.